Now, on 105.9 FM and streaming worldwide on the WMAL app. O'Connor and Company.
8:37 now, O'Connor and Company. It's Larry and Julie. Before we hand it off to Chris Plant. Julie, look who's here. It's Kurt Schlichter. Now everyone knows him as a best-selling author, a columnist at Townhall, a fill-in radio host for lesser-known radio shows than ours. He's also a retired colonel from the United States Army. He spent much of his career in the National Guard in the state of California. So he has a working knowledge of the chaos of Los Angeles County in particular. Colonel, I should say. Thanks for joining us, sir.
Well, thank you, Larry. In fact, it's kind of, you remember when I retired 10 years ago without regrets, watching my old infantry brigade combat team get called up to provide security in Los Angeles is the first time I've been like, I kind of wish I was still doing that.
You wish you were out there, providing security. Well, maybe you can shed some light on that. When the president calls in the National Guard, which, by the way, you were part of the deployment in 1992 during the Rodney King riots, where it was President George Herbert Walker Bush who called you in, right? I mean, this is not unprecedented.
No, this gets technical and actually implicates my legal side. I wrote the first major law review article after I went out in the LA riots on military support to civilian operations. And you hear a lot of people talking about posse comitatus.
Posse comitatus, you can't do that.
If somebody's talking about posse comitatus, is a good chance he's an idiot because everybody gets it wrong. Posse comitatus is basically a law that says you cannot use, except under certain circumstances, federal military forces to enforce regular criminal laws. And Trump has authority to call you up so that you can do that. That was the Insurrection Act that was done in 1992. Here he used a different act to bring military forces in to support law enforcement when they're being prevented from enforcing federal law. The military forces that came up aren't MPs. You didn't see military police out there. You saw infantry from the 79th Infantry Brigade Combat Team, where I was deputy commander, sometimes acting commander. Those were my guys.
Yeah.
They're infantry soldiers. They close with, kill enemy with fire and maneuver. So you probably don't want them out there enforcing law if you can help it, right? They're providing point security. What they're doing is securing federal locations so that the actual federal cops can go out and do cop things. But brilliantly, because you got to understand, it's a giant information operation. This is not a kinetic operation. The Trump administration has made it so it's the local police under Karen Bass and Gavin Newsom who are out there actually doing the confrontations with the real rioters and demonstrating that Gavin Newsom is an impotent governor who's unable to perform as a man.
That's one way
it's beautiful. Well, yes. Trump
go in detail here, because this is critically important, because I think that there's this image that Trump calls in the National Guard, and that means there's tanks rolling down the streets in Los Angeles, and they're rounding up anybody waving a Mexican flag, which, again, is probably, when you're pining for getting back in action, that's what you would love to do. But sadly, that's not exactly what's happening. What is the National Guard doing here?
Well, first of all, let's get a size thing going, which of course is always an issue with me. Los Angeles is really big, and there's like 20 million people here. All this stuff is happening downtown LA and in some scuzzy suburbs. All right, me in beautiful Shangri-La. I live in an area full of rich liberal wine women who gobble SSRIs and punch out.
This is true. I've been there. It's the Alexandria of the South Bay in Los Angeles.
God, you poor thing.
You were literally there last week.
Yes.
Nothing's happening here. Nobody's seeing anything. It is a small demonstration, and I mean demonstration because they are performing for the cameras of the regime media, who's trying to make it look like LA's on fire. It's all Trump's fault. I don't think that's working. But like I said, it's an information operation. The military forces are in for two reasons. First, they free up federal cops to do cop things, which is arrest people. The second is, like I said, it's an information operation. Trump federalizes the National Guard. He brings it on federal duty. When it's not federalized, it works for Newsom. When it's federalized, it works for Trump. He brings it on active duty, demonstrates strength, and provides a tangible benefit to the federal authorities here. And now you have Bass, Newsom, and all the Democrat governors screaming and whining like little girls about how Trump is being mean, and he is instead appearing strong. Remember, in this kind of color revolution idea where you're trying to basically trick the population into feeling that, oh my gosh, we have to submit to this because no one will protect us, there's no one resisting. Trump takes the daddy role instead of the mommy role, shows you can resist, and suddenly gains all this popular support. This is tremendously popular. People love this because they see, these scumbag third world peasants creating all sorts of violence and trouble, and normal people side with patriotic Americans over it. And Trump says, no, you don't have to submit to this. I will protect you. I'm bringing in the military, where the military is really just standing there.
By the way,
brilliant.
if I didn't know any better, I would think this entire thing was a ploy and trumped up by your book publishers, because you've got a brand new book out on pre-order right now. It's called American Apocalypse: The Second American Civil War. It's a novel based on fact, as is typical with Kurt Schlichter. You can buy that on pre-order now. And I would think that this is your publisher doing this, but you self-publish because you're a genius entrepreneur. And so maybe really fast while I've got you, did you instigate this violence to help sell your book?
I did not, but I am taking advantage of it by transcribing. I haven't been writing lately. I've just been taking notes.
Oh, I'm sure this was inspirational as you were finishing up the final chapters. Yeah.
Well, look, I actually think this what's happening now is going to lead to a more likely peaceful resolution because it is going to solidify support for the Trump administration. I thought we were going to have trouble in 2026, Larry. I think right now, literally, the behavior of the Democrats is a bow tie, a gift with a bow on top of it.
Yeah, I agree. Listen, one of the major narratives out of Washington, D.C. is the Democrats have nothing. They've got no solution. They've got no agenda, and they continue to fumble. So what do you do when you have nothing? Well, you start burning things down, and it's playing out way sooner than we expected, but it's definitely going to work in the administration's favor. I agree with you on that. We got to leave it there. Kurt Schlichter, always good to talk to you. You're a man in demand. I mean, not many people can – are columnists, conservative analysts, authors, and lawyers, and also were deployed for the riots in California. You are it. You're the only one.
I'm a potent Renaissance man. Ahoy!
Ahoy, indeed. Jonathan Last sends his best. It's 8:45 WMAL.